Yes, there are other small projects that they can apply for.
Yeah,
It's based on the project itself. We have a technical one. We probably use True. Yes. And if we needed to, we could hold have reached out to us in the past saying, if you need to use that person, you're welcome to use that person. We don't have to go to NDIT and make a commitment for a grant writer. We have the option.
yeah.
There's various options, so thanks for bringing that forward.
Yeah, if they'd like to submit a proposal, maybe if their services and their fees.
Yeah, because the whole advantage, for example, PNRD, they have a department specialized only on grants, so they chase those grants, they know everything that is coming out and apply, whereas I find out about a grant available 2 weeks before the deadline. It's kind of hard to apply.
Well, that's when they issue them usually.
Yeah, especially this year, I'm like,
It's important to recognize, though, that
yeah.
applying for the grant is one thing, getting the grant is another, and then finishing off with the grant is step 3. And an organization like the TNRD, who has a lot of bodies that do specialty type work underneath their roof, it's a lot easier for them to do it than us. So when we're considering applying for funding, we have to consider all 3 steps.
Yeah.
Because it does impact our organization because we're very small.
Yeah, well, that's why I thought that something like this would work in our advantage, because they not just track the grants, apply for the grants, do the reporting, then progress of the project, they would be probably an asset, so.
I see where you're coming from. And if they need technical experience, they could go to True, because they happen to be our engineer, especially on bigger projects.
Yeah,
But, yes, just we have to be cognizant of that. We are a smaller group.
yeah,
And anything that we do take on for the benefit of the community involves a stressor in our operations.
yeah.
So thank you for that. Anything further under budget and administrative services? Policy and bylaw review, myself and Councillor Peters. Council discussed changes to the procedures bylaw.
Okay, this got kicked off when we started getting requests from the province for how are you dealing with COVID and allowing public participation in your meetings. And we found some limitations in our procedure bylaw, one part of which was all council meetings must be held in the council chambers. Well, if we wanted to have a meeting where we could still physically distance, we couldn't have them in here. For an important meeting, we may want to move a council meeting over to community hall. So that's what kicked us all off. My hope tonight was that we could go through this section by section and outline or tell me what your concerns are or what changes you think need to be made. And then I would bring a draft for first 3 readings to the next council meeting. The process has already started. The first few pages there, starting on page 1, is the current bylaw. Am I right? And then it moves on to the one with the comments? Okay. So that's the untouched copy is from page 1 to page 8. Page 8 being the amended bylaw for the new electoral period when they changed it to 4 years, and to October for voting. So, starting on page 9, there is a copy of the bylaw with markups. Then there's comments in there from myself, Councillor Cooper, and then following that, there are emails with other members of council, mostly Councillor Pittman. And Councillor Pittman, I'm sorry, I wasn't totally clear you have a lot of boxes and arrows and stuff written in and stuff written out. So I thought it would be better for us to go through this point by point, and then you can point out.
Which ones?
You can say what you mean rather than me trying to interpret what you're
Yes.
meaning.
I think I got it, but I'm not 100%.
So, title, obviously that would be changed when we have a new bylaw number. We would repeal this current one and the amending bylaw and combine the two. Definitions, notice board, village office, corporate officer. There's also some definitions under notice of committee meetings. There's a definition for a primary committee and a secondary committee. I would like to move all of the definitions to one area. It makes it a lot easier to follow.
Makes sense.
Okay. So that would be added. Okay, are there any other definitions, anything else that maybe, I'm hoping everybody had a chance to go through this. Are there any other definitions or something that's not clear that maybe should be in the definitions?
I just, if we're gonna have notice board, we, in previous discussions and in Councillor Pittman's notes that she made that where we have notice board, that we should also have social media and website. Do those need to be included in that,
Under definition?
under definitions, yeah?
no.
Like, cause if we're specifying one part of that, do we need to specify the other?
Yeah, we cut down on a whole bunch of words every repeated
Okay.
throughout the bylaw.
Sorry, I should have copied this as well. This is just the excerpt from the community charter. Part of it says, identify places, plural, that are to be public notice posting places for the purposes of section 94, public notice. Now they're talking about places, and I think we can broadly interpret that to mean also web places and Facebook
So
places.
could we make, instead of notice board, could we have notifications and then includes notice board at the village office, social media and village website, and then that way it wouldn't have to be repeated all the way through and
Yep.
so some way of defining that to
So,
shorten up the wording all the way
I'll
through.
figure out a different word than just notification.
Yeah.
It'll have to be notification something or other, but I'll make it fit. But no, I like that idea too.
So have it all in one rather than
Put under public notice.
public public notices.
Just public notice, public notification, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, village office, corporate officer. Now, village office needs a facility that holds the council chambers where regular council meetings are held. That would be amended to say where council meetings are normally held.
Normally.
Corporate officer needs the appointed officer with responsibility for corporate administration pursuant to section 148 of the community charter. Deputy mayor, there was some back and forth on the emails about this one. The mayor shall appoint a deputy mayor from the council members with the appointments to be shared on a rotational basis within a schedule to be determined by law. Now, one of my earlier comments was our current bylaw does not follow the community charter requirements. But I crossed that out, and I believe that I am in error. I'm open to other points of view, and I can read it out from the community charter too.
The community charter in 124(2)F says establish the procedure for designating a person under section 130. So it can be the mayor, it's the decision of all of council how that is decided within our procedure bylaw. That's how I interpret it.
Yes.
So,
If council feels that having the mayor appoint the deputy mayor, that can just stay in as is. There's nothing locking us into that since we're going through these changes anyway. It could be draw by lot, alphabetical order. There's all kinds of different ways that we could do it, just so that it's more automatic, but that's up to council. If they feel that this way works for them, then we just leave it in there.
The previous time when I was sat on council, We did it through, we put the numbers on little pieces of paper, 1 through 4, and tossed it in a hat, shook it up, and each council member took a number, and regardless of whether you like the number or not, that was your time frame. And it was a fair and unbiased process, and I think that's how we should do it.
That was, so by lot, in other words.
That would have been determined by mayor, because I don't think this has been changed in a long time.
No, it was in 2000, this was changed in 2010 after I was in the last time. It just shows, gives procedural fairness.
Should say the same. The mayor has the authority to appoint who he wants to, or she wants to see in the position of deputy mayor for any given year, and has the authority to rescind that as well.
According to the community charter, the mayor has the authority to appoint and rescind only on a standing committee. The community charter 131, the council must provide for the designation of a councillor as a member responsible.
And that's what I'm saying, where 124 2F says that council establishes a procedure for designating the person, so. And we,
Which would be the
Well-
well,
ballot
council,
or
no,
what have
through
you.
the bylaw, so whatever council decides the bylaw should say, that's how it's done.
So council has decided that the
Previous.
mayor is responsible.
Previous council
That is
had.
the procedure
Yeah.
that council has approved.
Yeah, and that's what previous council obviously had done, so.
Let's move on. Thank you.
Okay, so we will leave that. I will add in and rescind. So the appointments to be shared on a rotational basis within a schedule to be determined by lot. So that is still in there, but it's, the mayor appoints from within that schedule determined by lot. Also, before we move on from deputy mayor, my last comment, also, there is no provision for a member who may not wish to be in rotation. So, would you like me to add that in, or should it be a requirement of any sort? I would say that you can opt out if you so wish.
Particular council member is appointed and they don't want that appointment, they can make it no. It's that simple.
The deputy mayor, this is, B, C, and D are pretty much all already in the community charter. B, the deputy mayor shall assume the duties of mayor in the event of a temporary absence, illness, or disability of the mayor. Point C, I put in, that's why it's in bold there. If both the mayor and member designated under subsection 1 are absent, subsection 1, I don't know what I'm referring to there.
So this is all, the rest of this is based on the community charter 130.
Yeah, I believe so. I don't remember whether it was 130 or whether I got it from 124. I believe it's in 130, yes.
30 subsection 1.
Okay,
I think
more-
the whole idea of that is to allow the council members to have an experience as deputy mayor, so that if in the future they want to run as the mayor, they have some experience. So I think if there's any kind of personal conflict or opinions, doing it by community charter and determining it by lot by council, it's a fair process, an unbiased process. And that's what I would agree to.
Item D.
In the event that the mayor's seat becomes permanently vacant, council shall appoint an acting mayor from within its members. Now, I'm not sure why that is there, because we've already got the rotation in there, so it would be the person in the
But
rotation that fills
But if
that,
the
so.
event, the mayor seat becomes permanently vacant,
So
then
the-
you don't want a rotating mayor on a permanent
Yeah.
basis, like you want solidity.
You still need an acting mayor in case the
Until-
person filling wasn't available.
Yeah.
That's right, okay. Got it. The acting mayor will have all of the powers and responsibilities of the mayor until such time the council appoints a replacement or an election is held. I just wanted to take a quick jump back to see, and it's more of a procedural matter. If both mayor and deputy mayor are absent, then the corporate officer calls the meeting to order, and council will select someone to preside the meeting, yeah. Number 5, regular council meetings. A, regular meetings of council shall normally be held in the village office of council chambers. There's the old underlined stuff again. However, for meetings where council deems the council chambers are not appropriate, an alternate location may be determined by resolution of council. So leaving it open, not specifying it has to be in this place, or it leaves it a little bit open. Regular meetings of council shall follow this schedule, and the only change I really made there was for July and August, where I crossed out the 3rd Monday, and I put in the 2nd and 4th Mondays, because there was some discussion about the need for possibly having more meetings over the summer, just because things are so busy. A lot of things kind of get, unless they're really urgent, get set aside. If we have flooding that year, we seem to be having a lot of those kind of years. Now, that being said though, at the staff level, we've been having a number of discussions that lead up to this to indicate that it might be better for both Ashcroft and Cache Creek to have our meetings on alternate Mondays rather than the same Mondays. It makes it easier for the press to get to both, or the media to get to both meetings. It makes it easier for council members from one community to go to a council meeting at another community. The main advantage, or the main reason I think it was done in the past, and this happened before my first time here, the person who was doing the reporting at the time preferred doing it that way. And it did make things easier if we had a traveling delegation, like from UBCM or MIA or someplace like that, where they go around to several different council meetings. They could do 2 council meetings in one night for Ashcroft and Cache Creek. It's not, that does not happen often enough for, to lock us into that. I'm just saying, what does council think about alternating with Ashcroft to go, so that we would go 1st and 3rd Monday? That would also give us a chance to start meetings at an earlier time, consistently.
I'm okay with that.
Has any conversation been held with Ashcroft about that
Not with
possibility of
council,
that?
but with Ashcroft CAO, yes. My understanding from Daniela was that they've been discussing it internally as well, although nothing formal has been said. All right, so the general feeling around the table is that I should go ahead and make that change to 1st and 3rd. What kind of time? 5:30, 6 o'clock, so that we can.
I think,
It's a little more difficult from the working perspective.
for the 6 o'clock, or,
What's gonna be the best time for you, Christine?
I will adapt. It's when
That
we
was one
start
of your
at 7 and we go to 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and then if I'm stuck behind the train for 2 hours and I get home after midnight, that's when,
But that was your concern.
that was mine and still is, but in the meantime, we
And it-
talked to Gareth and said that he would also prefer to have it on alternate Mondays.
Who said?
We're
Sorry?
informal
okay.
Oh,
at this
Gareth?
meeting.
Yeah.
It was-
Yeah, I
Sorry, it
think-
was Garrett.
Yeah.
Garrett, yeah.
Like, I was late for this meeting.
Because you were still
because
at, we
I was
figured
still
that,
at-
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, being able to publicize our meetings, I think is quite important, so that's definitely something to take into consideration. We also need to take the business person that's on council into consideration, and I kind of think 6 o'clock might be a good compromise, because they might have to leave about half an hour earlier or something to get here. Better than a 4:30 meeting.
True.
And for all of us, to get home, I'd much rather get home a little earlier.
How does it work?
I
for
have
you?
no
How does that work for you?
I'm 7 to 7, so it doesn't really matter for me. So
One
when
way or
I
the
work,
other.
I'm 7 to 7, so.
So you could still come, you might be late.
Yeah,
but-
yeah. But I would be an hour late if it was at,
Yeah.
if it was at 6.
Yeah.
Oh, a little more than an hour.
Well,
so
yeah,
if
Yeah.
you're-
by the time we
Yeah.
get out, we have to do med count and such, so
Yeah.
yeah, there is a bit of a challenge there, but at the same time, I can just make sure, try and pick those days off. It just depends on the acuity of what's going on at the centers, right, so.
Okay, so again, around the room, 6 o'clock start? Okay.
So are we still going to have the July and August extra meeting times?
Good
I'd
question.
I'd like to see those go back to 1 and 1.
How much business was there in July and August that we kind of pushed aside this last year?
We didn't push anything aside in July and August. It was stuff that was pushed aside April, May, June during the flooding that was addressed, that had to be
Deadlines.
brought up in
Right.
July, August. But I don't recall the meetings being extra packed at the agendas part.
No, they're
So-
only 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Sorry, I'm trying to get the thoughts straight in my head before it comes out my mouth. So if we were to leave it at the 1 meeting, and how much, do we just have to give the 48 hours notice of a change of meeting? So
72. I think.
72 hours notice? So we're gonna know during freshette, for example, like this year was extraordinary, it was extended, it was a big event that took a lot of staff time. And that's what kind of put us behind and why we had to sort of do extra things in July and August. We're gonna know that though by the end of May, the beginning of June,
Mhm.
because we're gonna know if it's extended. So at that point, we could make the decision that we think we're gonna need an extra meeting in July and reschedule
Yeah.
those rather than put it in stone, I guess. is-
Right.
Good point. My suggestion would be, well, first of all, kind of coordinate things with Ashcroft, but right now, we're both on the 3rd Monday. Maybe we could do the second Monday, and they could do the 4th Monday, whatever works. Or 1 second, 1 third. But just pick 1 meeting, and then at that meeting, you can always call another meeting a couple
Or,
of weeks later.
yeah, my point is, prior to that, we're gonna know if we're behind.
Right.
Very
So,
likely, yeah.
yeah, you know, we have ample time if we only have to
If we need
publicize
to add them.
within 72 hours, if we have to add a meeting, then it's not a great hardship, really. It's easily planned in advance.
Yes.
That's kind of where I'm going.
Okay, so just 1 meeting.
And we'll do that at the
No.
6 o'clock still?
Okay. Yeah, all the meetings would be 6 PM still, but for July and August, I'll run that one by, well, I don't know how far along they are, so what's council's preference for July and August meetings? And then I'll just,
It would be nice to keep them the same as the others, like,
So the first or the fourth?
yeah.
So first
so
or the third?
we don't want
Oh.
the 1st in July, because it could fall on July 1st.
Right.
I guess that's not.
Almost any,
Oh,
Overall.
almost
sorry,
any
yes, it
month
does.
that there's
Exactly,
a
yeah.
long weekend, it could fall on the
in
1st, yeah.
So 1st and 3rd again, or I mean, 1st only for July and August? With the possibility of a second meeting if necessary.
Except
'cause
that that's
we're
only a
going 1
week
and
after,
3.
that's only
Yeah.
It's not much time from the
2
last
weeks,
meeting.
yeah. Well,
I mean,
And the
that's,
second
that's the way it
and then
would
we're
be
another-
normally,
yeah.
so.
So it would be 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
Approximately,
Yeah.
because every once in a while, there's 3 weeks in between.
Yeah.
Okay, I will go first Monday for July and August, 1st and 3rd for the rest of the year. Oh, pardon me, and December. And then the rest of the year, 1st and 3rd.
Is there a business at the end of at the December meeting though that might need to be further on in the month, being that it's year end? Does that matter?
Normally, there's not much of the year-end stuff that needs to come to
It's
council.
usually January that
January.
starts,
So,
yeah.
then we're back to 2 weeks, everything.
Yeah.
It'd be an idea just to give the CAO a heads up in Ashcroft, so they don't do the same thing that we're doing.
Exactly, yeah. I've already
Make the
made it clear,
changes.
yeah.
Contemplate the changes that we're contemplating, and then we're back in the same position.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, council may, this is point C, council may by unanimous consent of all council change the date or time for a regular meeting, or if it so desires, cancel the meeting entirely. I'm not sure where that comes from and why it would have to be unanimous. I don't remember seeing anything in any of the procedure bylaw or requirements for posting the annual schedule that it has to be a unanimous consent. So I'm going to put a question mark beside that one and do some more looking, but I couldn't find anything. I'm just wondering if anybody else knows anything about that. I'm not sure why it would have to be unanimous. I think it would only have to be at most it would have to be a 2/3 majority, and I don't even see that. It would just have to be a simple majority.
It was probably an issue at one time,
Yeah.
and it got placed in there.
D, if the regular meeting day falls on a statutory holiday or other holiday observed by the village, the regular meeting will be held the first working day after the holiday at the regularly scheduled time. First regular meeting following a general local election shall be on the first Monday in November. It was December, but the November is actually in the amendment bylaw.
Yep.
Notice of regular council meetings, and there's probably gonna be a few places in here about notice board, and somewhere it says social media, and somewhere it doesn't, so I will clean all of that up for the next meeting.
So that could be if our definition has a title that all of those things fall under, it just needs to have that definition there.
Yeah.
Because I have
I'll
stars in a few
wordsmith
places
that,
where it got
and
missed, so.
Milan's good at that kind of thing too, so we'll come up with a good term for that. Okay, so 72 hours before, get the place, date, time, 72 hours, posting copy, 72 hours. I don't think, is there anybody that has any concerns about any part of number 6? I just as soon skip over that. It's pretty straightforward. Special council meetings. 2 or more council members may, in writing, request the mayor to call a special meeting. B, 2 or more council members may call a special meeting if, within 24 hours after receiving a request, the mayor refuses or neglects to arrange for the special meeting to be held within 7 days of receiving the request, or the mayor is absent. Well, refuses, neglects, absent, kind of leaves out unable, so I suppose we could put something like that in there, I don't know. Unable might include anything from a conflict of interest to they're sick. They may not be absent, but they're sick.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that can't?
Refuses or neglects, or is otherwise unable. Notice of special council meetings. That's again, I will just duplicate whatever goes into the notice for regular council meetings. Except, part A, except where notice of a special meeting is waived by a unanimous vote of all council members under section 127.4, at least 24 hours before a special meeting for council, the corporate officer must do all the advance notice stuff. That one I can easily see, that probably does need to be a unanimous vote. Because those requirements are a pretty stringent part of the community charter throughout. Opening procedures, a quorum of council is at least 3 members. That's in the charter. As soon after the hour of meeting, as there shall be a quorum present, the mayor shall take the chair and call the meeting to order. If the mayor does not attend within 15 minutes, the deputy mayor takes over, or if the deputy mayor is also absent, corporate officer shall call the meeting to order and if a quorum is present. Council members shall appoint an acting mayor who shall preside during the meeting until the arrival of the mayor. Such a person acting, or appointed as acting mayor has all the powers and is subject to the same rules as the mayor. Should there be no quorum present within 15 minutes after the time appointed for the commencement of the meeting, the corporate officer shall record in the minute book the name of the council members present at the expiration of such 15 minutes, and the meeting shall stand adjourned until the next scheduled meeting of council. I've never seen that happen yet. Select or standing committees, there were some comments in there, it looks like I took them out. Mayor shall establish standing committees for any purpose which they consider would be better regulated and managed by means of such committees, and they shall appoint up to 2 council members thereto. The proceedings of all such committees shall be subject to the approval of council. The council may from time to time, the proceedings of all such committees, that's a roundabout way of saying committees can only make recommendations. Any council member may be placed on a standing or select committee, notwithstanding the absence of such member at the time of being named upon such committee. Members appointed to a committee shall be co-chairs. I took out a bit about first name shall be the chair of that committee, because when the mayor set up the committees at the beginning of this term, he said there were co-chairs, there weren't going to be any chair, vice chair. Now, that could always get changed back to the way it was if council so wishes.
We just took turns anytime we met.
Yeah. Okay, if it's working, don't change it. There was only one place where it said chairman instead of chair, and I did make that change. Okay, council members may attend the meetings of any of its committees. My comments there are in error. I did some tracking. I was thinking about what was the thinking of the day when I was back in Chase, where this was a real bugaboo in many councils' ear, because there were concerns that meetings were happening outside of council discussing business outside of council, that kind of thing, not Chase, other municipalities. And so some of the legal interpretations back then were saying that anytime there's a majority of council present, that is then considered a council meeting, because especially if you're discussing council business, probably not especially if you're discussing council business, it becomes a council meeting. I did some searching, and that has since been cleared up, as it happens a lot with the community charter and other legislation. It is settled by a court decision, and I have a feeling, I couldn't find it, but I have a feeling that's what happened here. In the meantime, since I've been away and came back, they've said that yes, multiple members of council can attend a committee meeting, but only the 2 committee members can vote on a matter. But anybody from the public or council can attend and comment, participate in any way at a committee meeting. So please ignore my comments.
So, Councillor Pittman suggested using the wording in the Ashcroft
Okay, what
procedure
agenda
bylaw, so
page is that?
I don't, 28 maybe? Yeah, 28.
What does it
Right,
need,
is that right, Annette? That's kind
Yes.
of what you were suggesting, yeah?
what does it need to
The
change?
rule of council.
So it's
Just to
that
clarify it, so there isn't any
if there
gray
is,
areas?
yeah, if you want to. We want to add that in there.
So you're saying that,
If we need to put wording in, because
council
where
members-
you were stating in the comments that was gonna come out, right? Where you're gonna be changed.
So basically, all it's
So
doing
they
is
just-
saying what you just
More
said, only in
specific,
writing.
yeah, in writing.
Yeah. Just so there's no gray areas, so there isn't any misunderstanding.
Okay, just made myself a note to see agenda page 28.
28.
And
The
that is
first
for
box of-
10D.
So
so 70, actually,
20.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, general duties of all the standing committees of the council shall be as follows. There are no changes in there, other than I think that was where I made the change from chairman to chair. In any case, I did not make any changes, and that seems to me to be pretty much straightforward. Anybody have any concerns with that? General duties of standing committees? No? Okay. So that, we'll just skip over items C through H. And then there's some comments about committees being dissolved. A select committee shall, on completion of its assignment or on submitting its report to the council, be automatically dissolved. And you see the comments between Councillor Coomber and myself. A select committee is normally set up for a very specific purpose. When that purpose is met, then the committee is dissolved, or if it's determined that as a result of what they've put together, that there's a need for a new standing committee, then that committee is formed, and the mayor appoints members to it, and it then becomes a normal standing committee. A select committee is very short, normally short term for a specific purpose. And again, notice I'll clean all that up so it's all equivalent to the other sections. Attendance at public meetings. Subject to section 90 of the community charter, all council meetings must be open to the public. Where council wishes to close a meeting to the public, it may do so by adopting a resolution pursuant to section 92 of the community charter. This bylaw also applies to meetings of bodies referred to in section 93 of the community charter, including without limitation, select or standing committees of council, the board of variance, the court of revision, the landfill advisory committee. Now, the landfill advisory committee was the public committee, not the internal council committee. I don't believe, if we have a board of variance, it hasn't been called for, I don't know how long. I don't believe we have a court of revision.
What is a court of revision?
I wish you hadn't asked that, because
Oh,
I don't know
sorry.
the answer. I'd have to look that one up.
Isn't
Throw it out
that
there.
for when people have a variance?
No, that's what a board of variance
Board
does.
of variance.
Well, that's the assessment role then, to appeal their assessments?
Well, right now, they appeal assessments directly to BC Assessment Authority.
I know
Right.
this is kind of old.
Yeah, so before the next meeting, when we bring this back to council, I will research what a court of revision actually is and whether we need that in there. I
All right.
really don't think we do.
Thank you.
Electronic meetings and participation in meetings. Provided the conditions set out in subsection 128.2 of the community charter are met, a special council meeting may be conducted by means of electronic or other communication facilities. II, or 2, a member of council or a member of a council committee who is unable to attend at a council meeting or a council committee meeting as applicable may participate in the meeting by means of electronic or other communication facilities.
So I have a question here.
Yeah.
So with COVID, we know winters probably we're gonna get hit with a little bit higher numbers, whichever.
Yeah.
So this basically says only 2 people can be on like a Zoom call, let's call it. So if we're all mandated that we can't meet, that won't work if it's in.
I
our-
actually have a
Yeah.
proposed revision.
Okay.
When regulated by minister or order, electronic meetings, Article 13B, will not apply.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then we're specifying that it's by ministerial order, it's not at the whim of council.
Okay, that makes me more comfortable then,
Yeah,
for sure.
that
Okay.
was,
But
and
you-
it was, COVID was where it was.
But that's a ministerial order that probably won't be in effect after, hopefully next year, should that be in
Well,
our
once the
bylaw?
state of provincial emergency is lifted, those ministerial orders are automatically rescinded.
That's what I'm saying, so should that be in our procedure bylaw?
If we
If
have an
council so
issue.
wishes, I mean, using electronic meetings nowadays is almost the norm. In fact, I think it probably is by far the norm. And I don't see any reason why we can't continue that if council so wishes. For myself, I like face-to-face, I don't really like electronic meetings, but I don't think we should restrict it.
I find electronic meetings limit debate, but that's just me.
And you're subject to the
But if
whims
we're
of the
mandated that
internet.
we're not to meet,
Sorry, Mark,
Yeah.
what was that?
But it already supersedes our,
yeah, I guess.
it becomes provincially mandated versus our, so I would hesitate to change that, personally.
As I said, I prefer face-to-face meetings myself.
Well,
I don't really.
they're meant to
We
be
all do,
face-to-face.
yeah.
The reason
But
that
if
we
you
went to
can't-
electronic media is that, for various reasons. And when you're elected, you're expected to be in this room conducting business. This is our council chambers. So I would recommend that we keep it as is.
Okay.
And even that's stretching it, in my opinion, but.
I wonder if we should put reasons for electronic meetings like hospitalization or,
No.
No.
Opens it too much to interpretation, or, and then let's add this, and then let's add that, I would say.
I know.
The
I
mayor's
don't
got
think
it
we-
right, let's just leave it the way it is.
I've seen it abused in the past, I just wish we had clarified it a little more.
I don't think
suppose
we've
we-
had any
I
problems
hear you.
now, so.
I suppose we could have a bit of an out there by saying,
By commission.
unless otherwise authorized by a majority of council. We could add something like that in there.
But then
That would
how
be
do
the
you
majority
know-
of council.
If it's the day of the meeting,
Yeah, that doesn't work,
Like-
does it?
It has
I
been.
was sick the one day, and I was trying to make the meeting, but there was no way I was gonna do the meeting,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, can't really do it now in a situation
I would leave it as is.
like that.
It hasn't been an issue
Okay.
currently.
3, the facilities must enable the meeting's participants to hear or watch and hear each other. 4, for a special council meeting referred to in section AI, the notice under section 8 must include notice of the way in which the meeting is to be conducted and the place where the public may attend to hear proceedings that are open to the public. So all of that would just be in the notice that the corporate officer puts out. Okay, so is there anything else under part 13, electronic meetings and participation in meetings? Okay, if not, I'll move on to 14, minutes of meetings. Minutes of council meetings and minutes of select or standing committees of council and any other body composed solely of council members acting as council members must be legibly recorded, certified as correct by the CAO or designate. That should be certified correct by the corporate officer. That is their responsibility.
Didn't we kind of change something about that corporate officer with the CAO and other documents? We kind of got
See,
it mixed
this-
back and forth.
The duties of corporate officer are included under the duties, as part of the duties of the chief administrative officer. The community charter does not require that a municipality has a chief administrative officer. They do require that you have a corporate officer, however. So that's why that should be changed. It should read corporate officer. The corporate officer is the one that is responsible for ensuring the accuracy and security of minutes and agendas.
I guess it's this way because our corporate officer is the CAO. That's why
But
they,
the rest of the, if you look down, the rest of the wording is corporate
it's
officer.
back and
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's mostly
Well,
corporate officer.
if it's anything to do with minutes or agendas or notices, I will change CAO to corporate officer because that's where it should be. That's what it should be. Minutes shall record all resolutions of council that are not withdrawn prior to a vote. Certified correct, signed by the mayor or other member presiding after adoption of the minutes. Minutes shall record all resolutions of council that are not withdrawn prior to a vote. The minutes shall record the names of the mover and seconder of all resolutions of council or committee. Minutes shall record the names of all elected officials that vote against any resolution of council or committee. Shall record the names of all elected officials that vote against any resolution of council or committee. I'm not sure why that is there. Normally it's optional. Would council like me to follow up on that? Do they want that left in there as a requirement?
Leave it.
Yeah, just leave it.
Okay. Council agendas, the only addition there was, if you look on your regular agenda, you will see that we have a part in there called delegation, business arising from delegation,
Right.
which is item 4. So I would suggest that that item be also included here, because it is good to be able to discuss the any delegations, especially if you're considering a thank you letter or something like that. You don't want to lose track of that kind of thing. Council may, by resolution, change the content of the agenda. The deadline for submission of items is to be included on the agenda is noon, Wednesday prior to the council meeting. Corporate officer shall ensure that the agenda is prepared and delivered to the place designated for each council member no later than 4:30 p.m. Friday before a regularly scheduled meeting. Any request to appear before council as a delegation must be received in writing by the corporate officer no later than noon Wednesday before the meeting. We have a very specific application form that was developed in conjunction with the the Office of the Information and Privacy Commissioner. Do we want to include that in here? Because it is what we do in the office, but it's not specifically in here. No, okay, we'll just move on then.
That's when they make the request to you, you send them the form and they
Yeah,
fill it out.
exactly. Okay. Delegations have 15 minutes. Corporate officer shall allow 2 delegations per meeting on a first come, first served basis. The mayor, at their sole discretion, may add additional delegations or provide for additional presentation time to the meeting if the mayor is of the opinion that the matter is important enough to warrant the additional time. And I, council shall adjourn the meeting at 11 p.m. if in session at that hour, unless otherwise determined by a 2/3 vote of the council members present.
If we're going to a 6 o'clock meeting, can we change that to 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say.
I think that's a really good idea. 4 hours is a really, really
Yes.
long meeting. You're not.
Eyes
normally-
glaze over by then.
Yeah. Rules of conduct. I haven't got any comments in there. I'll run through it very quickly. Every council member shall address themselves to the chair before speaking to any motion. Council members shall address the chair as mayor, shall refer to each other as councillor. No committee or council member shall speak disrespectfully of Her Majesty the Queen or any of the royal family or the Governor General, Lieutenant Governor, or persons administrating the government of Canada or of this province, nor shall they use offensive words in or against the council or against any member thereof, nor shall they reflect upon any vote of the council except for the purpose of moving that such vote be rescinded, nor shall they resist the rules of the council or disobey the decision of the mayor or of the interpretation of the rules of council. And in case any council members shall so resist or disobey, they may be ordered by the council to leave their seat for that meeting, and in case of their refusing to do so, they may, on the order of the mayor, be removed therefrom by the police. But in case of apology being made by the offender, they may by vote of the council be permitted forthwith to retake their seat. After a motion is finally put by the mayor, no council member shall speak to the motion, nor shall any other motion be made until after the result of the vote has been declared. The decision of the mayor as to whether the motion has been finally put shall be conclusive. I'm not sure, okay, no member shall speak, nor shall any other motion be made until after the result of the vote has been declared.
That's
Two
when you
motions
finish the
on-
business that's already on the table, right?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, that's right, okay, no, I was just wondering about whether you had to table a motion, but that's before the vote, so, okay. Voting on motions, every council, this I just cleaned up the language because it was very unclear. A little bit too wordy, it's still a little on the wordy side, but basically just clean it up.
On the voting on motions, I have a question, because the way it's written right here, in the 1, 2, 3, 4th line, it says, leave the council room while the vote is being taken. To me, it makes it sound like the person can be part of the discussion, but not the vote. And in my understanding of the definition of conflict of interest is they can't speak to it because they might be seen as influencing.
That's right, you're absolutely right. So I will leave the council room while any discussion is taking place and the vote is being taken. And I'm going to change while to before.
I have a comment there because in the community charter, in the conflict of interest, there is an exception that says that if the subject is not material in nature, then there is no conflict of interest. So what would be that materiality test in
Yeah.
this case? I think the council should state that or come up with a
Yeah, and that's,
formula.
well, in here it says if council is not certain that a conflict of interest exists, the matter shall be referred to the village's legal counsel for a decision.
Right.
And that's what I asked.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think it's feasible to go to a lawyer for $100.
No, but the
Item.
actual
You would know
definition
that
of the
beforehand.
conflict of
What-
interest, yeah.
If she ever gets back to me, I have asked, will be asking Denise to let us know what is considered material, so that we can move on with business without losing a quorum of council, for example.
Yeah,
In the case of the auditors, materiality is set at $10,000. I don't know. whether
no,
they
it's
go on-
5% of the revenue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you told me it was 10,000.
No, it's 60,000 was last year.
60,000.
Yeah.
In any case, once I
Yeah.
have a chance to discuss this with Denise McCabe, then I'll clarify this accordingly. But no, that was an excellent point that Christina found in the charter. It would clean things up a lot, just to
Yeah.
have something specific to say, up to this point, there is no conflict of interest. After that point, there is a conflict, or is a conflict of
Yeah.
interest.